Hail, hail, the Celtics are here, and what the hell do we care now, guys? We're in the final week or so of the January transfer window, and it is kind of all quiet on the Western Front, but there's lots of smoke on the horizon, and normally there's no smoke without fire, as they say. We're here for the Sorare CSC tonight, live on the Celtics Are Here channel, exclusively tonight on YouTube. I couldn't get all the buttons fired on to get onto Facebook and all these other places, so what happens on YouTube stays on YouTube tonight, and... But joining me tonight, as always, is McBride. McBride Ace, good to see you, mate. Hail, hail.
Hello, hail, hail. Yeah, it's not usually me that can't press the buttons, to be fair, so I'm quite pleased that has made my night.
Yeah. And back again, second week in a row, we've got the one and the only in the hoops tonight, Mark Patrick Rare. Hail, hail, mate. Good to see you.
Hail, hail. Good to see you guys. Good in good form, waiting for the end of the transfer window with, I guess, a little bit better news for us, and generally in a good mood though after that game, and we pummeled the little gun at the weekend.
Yeah, well, the cup game at the weekend, I think, had everyone looking at it maybe with a wee bit more excitement than normal, because it was coming out of the winter break and all the rest of it, and the players definitely enjoyed it. I've seen a bit of banter online about Paulo Bernardo doing the Mbappe celebration and everything, and getting stuck into it from both sides of it. So the players definitely love being back in town, and yeah, I think for everyone it was just kind of get the first little exhibition, get it under our belt, and make sure there's no banana skins, and we move on to Ross County this weekend.
Been a long January, isn't it? It's been, I miss it. Like it's a weird one as well. You have that like winter break, and then all the games are all condensed, so it's a great like period over Christmas. You get EPL games and all that sort of stuff as well, and it's like football all the time. And then you just get like 3 weeks where you've no Celtic. So everybody, there's Frank Brennan and flip a coin territory. Don't agree with that. Celtic are favourites for the league anyway. I would say in our own hands, as we were saying before we come on. Quinny is in our own hands now. So there we go. But I enjoyed the Bucky Thistle game. Thought it was good, and the good thing was we took it seriously and kind of played at a good tempo and stuff. It wasn't like one of these, it's like a testimonial match type game like Celtic were kind of played as if it was a real proper warm up for the league games. Quite high intensity, and good to see Abada back, and a couple other guys as well. Fata scoring as well. It's good.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's good actually just to pummel those teams as well, like, because there's constantly always people waiting to slag us for not delivering in those games. So it was just nice to slap them about and actually get some goals in the board. And I think it was, I don't know what Rodgers' plans are, but it was good to get some of those players that don't normally get near goals, and get near minutes actually onto the pitch and scoring goals and assisting. And yeah, so from the point of view of what I think we discussed last week, Winnie, I think we pretty much got what we, like what we'd suggested, which was a run out for guys that weren't typically, playing. And, we got a bunch of goals to go with as well, and a nice screamer from Kyogo as well, which was good to see. You like to see him getting the ones that are just nice and easy like that. So yeah, that was just a good outing altogether.
Yeah. Well, I was saying to you guys before coming on that it feels like, with some of the rumours, and McBride's maybe going to edge on the verge of this maybe being the clickbait that Strangelove the Doctor is maybe in fear of. But I think the writing's been on the wall since we got Kuhn, certainly, that Abada would be leaving. And it feels like today there's increased kind of chat and increased reporting of interest and rumours of loans with obligations or options to buy from Germany, Italy and England. That's all that kind of is when you go into the reports. There's nothing really that concrete or that kind of nailed on at the moment, which normally then makes you think it's just a pile of nonsense. But I do think this is a no smoke without fire situation. Is this maybe the Abada shop window where it's like he's coming back from an injury and it's just anyone who is eyeing him up, he needs a couple of games to show like, yep, he's back to just the way he was before, scoring goals, making assists, getting into the box, still running with pace, etc. Is this maybe the last time we'll see him in the hoops, maybe?
I don't think so. I just don't think it makes any sense at the moment. Like, I know you're saying about what Rodgers says and everything, but 2 weeks ago he said that Abada's got a big part to play in the second half of the season. What I would say is he's got a difficult relationship with the fans, obviously, at the moment because of everything that's going on. So at the end of the games and everything, he's like right down the tunnel and all that type of stuff. But I just don't think it makes sense then that we've got Ross County, we've got Hibs away, we've got an away game. I don't know if it's like Aberdeen or something, can't remember. But we've got guaranteed like 3 games before like Maeda, Yang, O, etc. come back. Why would we loan out a forward just now when we've got those games coming up? So if you were at full strength and you had Maeda, etc. there, then it may well make sense if he's not happy. I suppose at the end of the day, if he goes to Celtic and says, look, I don't want to be here anymore, then it might make sense to move him on. But if you loan him out, then you're not really getting the money in to go and replace him. So that it just doesn't make sense. I know you were saying quite about France and Germany and stuff like that, but the report I seen was Watford and Southampton. Geez, peace. Come on, Watford.
Yeah,
come on. Like that type of stuff doesn't make any sense. Some of the links, if you'd said to me like Leverkusen or whatever want them, that would make sense because they buy good young players or whatever, and that would be a kind of move I think that would probably be attractive to him as well. But I can't see him moving to somebody like sort of Watford, etc. It just makes.
I genuinely don't think he's at that Leverkusen level. I think like, I mean, Southampton is not horrific for him when you look at Alcaraz. That they're a proper young talent that they've got. It's not. Would you say Abada's better than him? I'm not really sure, to be honest with you.
It's more where you kind of want to sell players to as well. But I think that's part of this whole game as well. Is come to Celtic and then we'll sell you to this team, or this league. And Southampton at the moment or Watford in the Championship, that's not really the part of the food chain I don't think we want to be in. I think we want to hopefully try and sit, even if it's for the same bloody money, but try and get them to.
But you'll get that money from their team. Sadly, I mean, they'll be able to pay that, I would imagine, down south in the Championship. I just feel like it's a wee bit confusing in general, the way that things have been set up. And I think you're right, McBride, the way Rodgers just says stuff and then 2 weeks later the opposite seems to be happening. You've got Naroki coming out and saying, I can't wait for the second half of the season. You're like, I know that you did say that, to be fair to you, Quinny, but like, you're just like, what's going on here? Like, he's been told emphatically that he's not playing, and now suddenly, clearly, because you wouldn't make that comment really if you hadn't had somebody telling you with some level of assurance, surely. I don't know, but it certainly felt like he'd been assured slightly. And Abada, I thought, I have to say, I was absolutely certain that he was gone. It was going to be Kuhn that would come in and play that cup game, and Abada would never play for us again. So I was even surprised to see him come out and and play that game. So again, the fact that he did come out and play that game, it's kind of thrown a wee bit of, what's the thinking there? Is it simply, do you put him on show to show people, like you said, that he's still got a bit of the touch and he can still play, and given an opportunity to showcase that for potential suitors? But at the same time, everything that I'm looking at points towards he doesn't feel good at Celtic, and I think it is the personal situation that feels far more logical, because some of the stuff obviously going on, and obviously near beatings in his ear, pretty heavily as well. Yeah. Big influence at Celtic. I just have a real sense that he is going to leave, and it isn't for football reasons.
Yeah, but not. The thing that got me was this loan thing. Like, why would we loan him to somebody, unless it's maybe a deal where there is an obligation to buy and the club just can't spend it just now because of the FPP thing or whatever. That would make sense. I suppose Southampton, and forgetting Southampton are in the top 3 now, so I guess for that point of view, if he went somewhere like that, there's a good chance he would get English Premier League football next season. So that might make a bit more sense. I'm not really surprised there's clubs interested in him, because I think we said before in the pod, or you'd said before in the pod, Mark Patrick, about the fact that he's, he had good like goals per minute ratios and all that sort of stuff, and he does get assists, etc. as well. So one thing that really stuck out in the game was that when he get down, he was always looking to play the ball across low to Furuhashi. So it certainly did seem to suit Furuhashi a bit better when you had somebody like that who was giving him a bit of supply. And every time he did get down that side, Furuhashi was off, and we looked dangerous, and we could have scored like 9 or 10 if we could have actually stayed on side a couple of times. But if Celtic sell him, then I think that would make sense, because we might want to actually recruit again if we sell him. Whereas if we loan him out, I don't know how much sense that makes for us, depending on the nature of the actual deal. Kuhn's come in, or Kuhn, sorry, and he seems to be more of a guy who wants to kind of come inside. So he's a left-footed player, he can play in the left, and he said he can play as number 10. So I think he's kind of come in from a tactical point of view, that guy that we've been struggling to get, who can maybe unlock a defence or beat a man, dare I say, because as much as Palm has been good, he can't really beat a man. So I just think with the Asian Cup being on and the AFCON and all that sort of stuff, a lot of players been away. Generally speaking, that it just wouldn't make sense to just lose him just now without getting something in for him. Maybe a big loan fee, I don't know. These clubs are maybe willing to spend 1.5-2 million just as a loan fee. That might make sense, but I do think if he goes, then you would want to get somebody else in terms of numbers at the moment.
Yeah, I don't know. I just thought, like, again, I just can't shake it. There was no place in the squad for another winger to be coming in, and I think for Kuhn to be coming in, and for us not to expect a winger's leaving somehow, or we're not going to be, or or some of them aren't good enough, or whatever. I don't know what it is, what the plan is, but no one had a right winger on the menu, and we know the whole situation that kind of circles around Abada. There's a few comments here just around it all. I'm not going to get into the whole ins and outs of the politics of it all, but there is just no way that the pressure he's receiving from back home and everywhere else is not going to. He will have options available to him. He's a very well sought after player, and I think for Celtic, like, get him out on loan, probably with maybe an option to buy or not. Probably not is the ideal thing. Is you get him into like a better league and you just showcase him off a bit, and then you gain interest for him, and then you can negotiate on your own terms in the summer, perhaps again. And if you'd be able to put him on a platform where he plays for like I don't know. You said Watford earlier on. I was just thinking, imagine it wasn't Watford, it was Udinese or something. I imagine he went to Udinese and scored 5 goals and got a couple of assists or something. You can then sell that guy for a lot more money all of a sudden. So depends how they play it and all the rest of it. But we're crying out for left backs. We're crying out for goalkeepers, and these guys are transferring all over the world, all over European football, it seems. And every week we come on to do this show, it feels like there's been more players transferred from under our nose that have went to other clubs or are now kind of off the table, or anything else, as it were. So Kuhn's come in, which is nice, but I say it's not anywhere near solving any problems. It doesn't even really solve the whole forward problem that we thought we had in this window with the Asia Cup and just with the depth we have in general. Or do we see a future for Rocco Vata as a backup centre forward all of a sudden?
Do you know something? I actually think that to take McBride's point about the number 10 position, I think if that can be even temporarily resolved, it will give us better options. I think as we play, a lot of those games where it's the St Johnstone games, the Motherwell games, the Dundee games, the Hearts match where we lost 2-0. Those games where the other team just either sits in 0-0 and it's just the Alamo, or they get a goal and they just do the old part of the bus routine. So I think you definitely need that kind of talent to be able to unlock those tight spaces. So from that point of view, great. The other part of it is, like we said before, is just you just end up with this never-ending list of wingers, and what's the plan for them? I mean, at some point, somebody has to be going. We can't just be keeping all of them, because I'm not, apart from the fact that wage-wise and just common sense, because we 7-8 players just don't go into 2 positions, and you're not talking about kind of fringe players. These are all reasonable wages that these guys are on. They're been in and around there on good salaries for a good while. So at some point they're also just not going to be. I mean, well, you'd like to think they're not happy sitting on the bench. I don't know. Some of them might be, but you know, at this point, guys like Mikey Johnson, he's got to be. If he's taking his career seriously, you've got to. If it's not going to happen this season at Celtic, you know, you've got to just move on and you know, and try and actually salvage your career. Because you know, he done well at Vittorio Guimaraes last year, so you know, go and prove yourself. Maybe in the J League with James Forrest, but you know, two of them in each wing for the Marinos. Might have a tough job getting ahead of Elber, mind you, and that Jan Matthias, but
I'd take them before.
Yeah, that Jan. Two of them are absolutely insane. You're right. But I think the thing is that, you know, in terms of solving the issue of that, I think yes. But in terms of the right wing issue, I take your point, Connie, about Abada on that position in the right. I mean, people quickly slag Maeda. I seen Andy Walker done a wee piece there slagging. You're like, oh, go on, get a grip. He's clearly came back from. I mean, when Maeda was away, not playing, everyone was saying, "Oh, can't wait till he comes back. Can't wait till he comes back." Clearly, comes back a little bit too sharp. Doesn't look up to, you know, his normal. He's not shutting down as quick. You know, he's clearly not fully fit as he was before. So he will get to that. It's clearly within his entire game. He will get back to that. But you know, just kind of dismissed him as if he's done. But you're right. The thing that he doesn't do, that Abada does do, is that just constant low, you know, the low cross, which is just picking out a man. And I think that it's advantageous for a Kyogo, because Kyogo's obviously making those types of runs. But yeah, a wee goal. But yeah, but yeah, I think that we've certainly got enough options now in the wing. Probably looking to, you know, sort some of the other areas that we've spoken about until we're blue in the face.
Yeah, I think I seen his dad was talking to one of the podcasts, and he was talking about being at Celtic and getting games and stuff, and you know, he done quite well when he came on against Bucky Thistle, but you can see he's quite raw as well, you know. So if Celtic could get him under a contract, if we could get him out to even the Scottish Championship or whatever, playing at a level regularly, or maybe another team in Scotland would take him, happy to give him some games, then that would be perfect for his development. I mean, the guy's only like, what, he's only 18 or something still, so he's still quite raw at the moment. And then I think the difference between him and like Mikey Johnson is, you know, age-wise, he's already had loans and stuff, and he's had chances to prove himself. Like, he was awful against Hearts at home, the game we get beat 2-0. I know maybe a few didn't really perform that day, but it was really poor that day. He scored a couple of goals when he came on against Dundee away, but it's kind of, he does that and then does nothing for 4 or 5 games type thing, whereas Celtic really need guys who are able to perform every week. So we've got lots of wingers, but I think for me the question is, do we have enough guys who have got a good quality in those positions? And numbers kind of a bit irrelevant if you're just left bringing in Mikey Johnson and complaining about him in our 5 games to say that we've dropped points because of lack of end product and all that type of stuff. So one of the jobs is getting people moved out, etc. And obviously that's another interesting part of the window now, if we manage to get more sort of players either out on loan like Kwon, or maybe a few out the door that's not really in the plans, to just get them off the wage bill or whatever and free up some space in the squad, so we don't have 30 guys and 8 people sitting in the stands on a match day or whatever, which is just bonkers, really, you know.
See, the other day there, Barcelona started their game against who was it they played at the weekend? They were Betis, yeah. Sorry, I was watching bits of that game. They started the game with a 16-year-old central defender, and that Lamine Yamal, and you know, that Lamine Yamal is already freakishly talented, like clearly en route to becoming world class. And that wee guy that played centre defence for them just looked incredible. And you've got to say, like, we go on about guys being 21 and still good time, you know, development player and all that stuff. I think we just need to show a bit more balls in these situations and actually just, give people opportunities. And if they've not got it, then they've not got it. Then it's time to put them out. But I mean, how long are we going to be holding on to people and saying, "Oh, we need to see"? I mean, Celtic historically have been a club where guys have been getting flung in at 17, 18. All of you back to the Tommy Burns and even the James Forrest and all of these guys.
Sean Maloney.
Yeah, come in at a young age, and it's just like, you're like, wow, he's only that age. That's amazing. Now we're going like that, 18, 19, we need to see, send them down to Stenhousemuir and see if he can. You're like, what is going on here? Are we going to, do we believe? It's no wonder the likes of Ben Doak and, that boy that went to Bayern Munich, and it's no wonder they look at the players that are not getting a chance. So, to take the point about Vata should have had a game comfortably by now ahead of a whole bunch of them, including Mikey Johnson. I like Mikey Johnson a lot. Incidentally, I think if he can find the right club, he can actually build a good career for himself. But I think sadly, it's just not going to happen at Celtic for him, and that's it. There's a wee bit of kind of reality's got to sit in for him, where he does just have to take the plunge and kill the commercial part for him and just move on. He might eventually ending up at a huge club again, but he needs to go and learn. But I think the thing with Vata is, like, any time I've seen him play, he's looked class. I think the other boy that we've loaned out to, is it Dunfermline?
Summers.
Ben Summers, incredible talent. What do we do? Oh, too young. We'll keep him for another 7 years and see if he can develop, and then we'll get to him. It's like, what is going on here? Are we going to give these boys a chance at that age and let them really, flourish?
I've seen Vata a little bit. I've never really been totally sold on him as a winger, to be honest with you, and seen him like kind of playing a bit more centrally in that match. Certainly, I would say that's probably a better place for me. He's quite a big lad for his age. When you said earlier he was 18, McBride, I was like, no, I can't still be 18. It feels like he's been knocking around for a bit now. But he is still 18, so fair play. He's definitely still, a work in progress, like any kid, like any player is at 18. So he's definitely one that we can maybe afford to give a lot more minutes to, especially like the whole need for the striker. This is the thing that's kind of getting the chat going, and what kind of gets my back up about this whole transfer window, right? Is we need to win the league, right? That's the top 8 priorities of the top 10 priorities that the club has right now, is to win the league no matter what. And the worry is, in some occasions, that we're not going to have the firepower from the bench to maybe come on and turn the tide of a game that maybe has went against us, or it's a tight match away from home, or whatever it might be. With the likes of Forrest, Johnson, Yang being the regulars that we see come off the bench to, air quotes, change games. Now, we do expect the quality of the squad to go up with Dyson and Hatate when they come back from AFCON. Not AFCON, sorry, beg your pardon, the Asian Cup. And then we've got Kuhn, who's came in the transfer window as well. We slip of the tongue, sorry, because I've been watching more AFCON than Asia Cup this time around. But I do feel that, we are, like, I know it's in our own, I know destiny is within our own hands in terms of winning the league, but I don't feel that we are, we should be comfortable with where we're sitting at the moment. Like, I think we have to be pushing the envelope to really make sure that we secure the victory here, because like the potential for 5 Champions League home games next year is going to be absolutely mega for the club. And I mean, you were talking about it, Mark Patrick Rare, last week, but I want the board to be greedy after they get this Champions League. See, after they get that taste of like 120 million or whatever crazy money we're going to make for it, they get the taste of that money. That's maybe when, something mad happens all of a sudden. Once they get the taste of the big cash, and how many dividends they can cash all of a sudden when they get that in, and whatever else. Yeah. So get them addicted to the big cash. So, but to do that, we need to win the league. We need to. And does Vata and are they sufficient from the bench players for Kyogo in most of the games we're going to have for the remainder of the season?
Yeah. Again, that's why I wouldn't let Abada go at the moment. Like, if Abada's not happy, just say, look, give us a shift to the end of the season. Where, bid comes in the summer, you can go. Abada's a guy who scores lots of goals from the bench. So unless you think you've guaranteed you've got the quality there, then you would want to keep him. The Vata thing, he must there's games where he can't even get on the bench. We've got that many sort of players in that position. For example, we signed Telio, so why did we sign Telio? Why did we sign Yang when we've got Vata there? So they're guys who are coming in that route of Vata, and we're going to spend like $1.5 million on maybe each of them. There's obviously Yang looks as if he does have some talent, but again, he's a raw talent, and Telio, people are kind of judging and saying he's useless, but nobody's actually seen him. He get taken to the Asian Cup with Australia, so it must be at a reasonable level, but nobody's actually really seen him perform in a Celtic shirt, so that's kind of difficult as well. And again, it's back to the Novrocky thing. A lot of people wrote off Novrocky, but he was injured, and then he couldn't play some of the games because next game was Champions League. He wasn't in the Champions League squad, and actually when he's come in, he's looked quite good. So you've got to give people a chance and stuff. But with Vata, if we're going to persist with having these other guys there as options, if Vata signs a new contract, it's better he goes out on loan rather than just sitting in the stands. I think you'd rather get some game time and stuff into him. But I wouldn't let Abada go at the moment unless we had somebody lined up from a quality point of view, because he is a guy who in the last couple of seasons has chipped in with a good number of goals, and I think that's important if you're going to be thinking about winning the league. It makes a difference.
I think actually, to answer your question though, about do we have the quality replacements in those forward areas? I think the answer is yes at the moment. I mean, would that be O coming off the bench for Kyogo or O starting? If Kyogo can't, I mean, I think O's demonstrated he can do that, no problem. I think the big man's a class player, and he's going to turn into a real top talent. I think the thing in wide areas, and I mean not Vata specifically, but I think there's enough cover in wide areas in general off the bench. I mean, Mikey Johnson off the bench is comfortably enough to slay most of the teams in Scotland. Let's be frank about it. He's already done that and shown that in games. He has had poor matches as well, but so have most of their squad. It happens. We can't win every game as much as we'd like to. I just think that our bigger problems lie in other positions in the pitch, particularly the left back slot that we've spoken about. To a blue in the face, and obviously we'd expected. Well, I mean, I wasn't fully expecting, but it seemed like all the rumours were pointing towards that Owen Beck coming from Liverpool. I don't know if it was a full transfer or on loan, but kind of felt a bit odd to me that Liverpool were starting to put him into squads in the first place when that was, when they were looking to get rid of him, because I would have thought Liverpool would. I don't know. I wasn't sure Liverpool would be interested in taking him full time when they knew that they could get money for him just now. But obviously that's wrong. They're going to keep a hold of him. I'm not sure. Not sure how that goes at Liverpool, particularly when you've got Robbo coming back pretty soon, and then Tsimikas is a good enough player. It's cover for Robertson. I know that a lot of people don't rate him. But yeah, I just feel that what we're going to get is Taylor left back for the rest of the season. Unless there's some miraculous activity before now and then. And I think if all that attention has been so focal on Owen Beck, is there a plan B, or are we just going to get something that's put together last minute to appease the fans that they're doing something?
It's hard to say, because a lot of the chat is the Brendan quote was he's already been knocking back players, in this January window. Players have been presented to him and he's been knocking them back. And I'm hearing another chat from outlets saying the agents are presenting players to the club and whatever. And it does just make you scratch your head a little bit and think where is the Gaza's saying it here. The report for Small that says he's going to Rangers did say that Celtic and Rangers were in discussions for him. Small, who Gaza's a big fan of personally for for reasons that will be quite obvious to most.
20 stack reasons.
Yeah, it's been pretty good for 20. He's been a really good left back, and he'll probably be a very good signing for them, it must be said. And we need a left back. You know, we don't really seem to be actively scouting and scouring. You know, it's more, it feels like people are being brought to the manager, and it's like, what do you think of this guy? You know, rather than it being a concerted effort from all involved to, you know, go and find the target and go and bring them in. Because we're in, you know, the last week of the window, and the top things that should have been on the to-do list for this window are nowhere near. There's not even a sniff of a rumor. And, you know, maybe that's good that they're keeping all their business under wraps or whatever, but it's normally like not much gets kept under wraps, you know, so it makes you think that not much is actually progressing or developing. So especially with, you know, some of these other areas of the squad like you're talking about, is it you know, I'm just nervous that we managed to cock it up somehow, because it just feels like, I don't know, there's deja vu kind of elements lying around here. I wouldn't call it any other kind of mentality or anything other than that, but, you know, Celtic from a position of strength, we've just not got the history of really backing ourselves and kicking on after we've sold players for big money in the past. And at the moment, we are just sitting at a real spot of, you know, do we or do we not? It kind of comes back to what you're saying, Mark Patrick, in terms of like giving the young players the chance, like just saying, like, just throw yourself in the deep end, we're doing it, you're playing the guy. It's the same with the transfer market. Just spend fucking 10 million quid. Just get the guy that you really want, but you've priced yourself out of it because you only spend 10 million. Just go and spend it. Go and get them in and just make it happen.
What's happened to Brendan Rodgers though? Because you go back to like when he was at Swansea and, you know, he was doing all that. You know, there was the famous Swansea documentary with it. I can't remember the guy's name. I'm not going to say Hugh Edwards is that BBC guy, isn't it? It's not the Hugh. Anyway, Hugh Keevins, right? Fine. Hugh Keevins, the old Swansea chairman. Anyway, I'm sure everyone will know who I'm talking about. The old Swansea chairman. He was saying that when Rodgers came in to do the interview, he had presented a dossier on every single player they had at the club, including all the kind of fringe and youth players. They had properly went through and done a dossier on, and he was like, wow, this is nuts. He's properly researched and prepared and looked at all of the team in depth. So there's an element of scouting involved in that, and, you know, data analysis and research. Where is that at Celtic? You know, I don't see any of that. I don't see any of that kind of behaviour, you know, when it comes to, you know, what players are being scouted. And I think the point that you were making there, the way I would look at that is like, is he doing any of the scouting? Is he just backed off of that entirely now? You know, like, you know, in terms of, I know that the scout, we've obviously got a full scouting network, but is he taking an active part in that? You know, what is his role in that? Is he really saying, by the way, this is the profile of player that we need, or is he just delegating the full thing? Because there doesn't seem to be a plan really with the type of profile of player. The only player that I've seen so far that looks kind of like the profile of player that Brendan was signing in his last tenure would be Kuhn. But even just to take Guy Small, for example, just as a player, infinitely better than Greg Taylor in every aspect, attacking, defending. For example,
infinitely is a big word.
He is. He can tackle better. He can get forward better. He's just a better player. Taylor's just comfortable because he's in an overpowered team. If you put Taylor in FC20, for example, he'd be struggling.
Would he?
I mean, I just done a simple data match between Greg Taylor and Guy Small there, and it showed me like one of the biggest disparities I've ever seen. So I don't want to bore you by going in depth on it, but he's basically got about 10 points on Greg Taylor in every department.
Sure. But I wouldn't say infinitely better, but he's definitely, you know, maybe got the, you know, a bit more of a physical presence, subsequently a bit more of a defensive unit, and, you know, a bit. And I think if you put Greg Taylor into 20, I don't probably think you see too much of a different result in terms of goals and assists and that kind of thing, which is really what pushes up a lot of the stuff I was just glancing at on screen there. Certainly, I know you're looking at something totally different, but I don't think, infinitely is a big word, is what I would push back with on that one.
I mean, like, okay, so let me clarify that then. He's better at every department. So that's so
I can deal with that.
Creatively, attacking, technically, tackling, just his game awareness. I just think he's way better. But look, I said that last week. I said if Cochrane's probably the best left back in Scotland. He just doesn't get he just doesn't get the credit he deserves, because it's not, he's not playing for Celtic or Rangers, so he's clearly just kind of frowned upon in the same way that I think other players do, like Miovski, and I've seen, as I said, people slagging off Shankland, which I find astounding considering he's having the season of his life. And we see it with loads of those players, and I do watch, as you guys know, I've watched lots of those teams, specifically Hibs, Hearts, and I'm going to watch the Hearts game later on actually, just to check on them. I think they're actually building a decent team despite having a terrible manager. I just think that we should be looking at a better profile, a defender. I mean, like we've bandied about a whole bunch, and by the way, Owen Beck, as I openly said, would be a great profile defender for us as well. Like if we actually, I think the only criticism I had was like, and I think we agreed on that, Quinny, is he, if we're going to just buy him to loan and then give him back, then we're back to square one in the summer. So, if it was I was interested when they went, all right, we're going to buy him and keep him, because there you go, for the club for a long time, you've got one guy that could just comfortably be the left back. From a Sorare point of view, you can just go fine, get him, that's it. That's a simple, there's nobody's going to replace him for a while. But I think someone just put that on the screen there at last minute. It kind of feels like that. Feels like that's the angle we're going down. It'll be a last minute rabbit out of a hat, and we'll look and we'll go, oh, that's not a rabbit. That's a wee bloody, it's a ferret.
Yeah, I mean, Quinny was talking about, I don't care who Rangers sign. So I'm just going to put it, I said that before we started, Quinny. I don't care who Rangers sign. We've won both of the Old Firm games. I know people don't like playing Old Firm. I always say that. Both Celtic Rangers games, we've got to go to Ibrox next, fair enough. But Celtic need to look after what we're doing, and I don't care who Rangers sign. In terms of signings, etc., we've signed one player so far who, as I seen a comment earlier about his stats and stuff, but the stat he did have his big chances created, the biggest or highest amount of big chances created at Rapid Vienna. So if that's the sort of profile we're looking for, and we're looking to create chances, that makes sense. Have Rangers actually signed anybody yet? Like, why as fans are we panicking because Rangers might be signing one or two players? I don't care. All I want Celtic to be signing players, and obviously the Beck thing is frustrating because if we were waiting on Beck and we never got him, he was first choice, then that's a spanner in the works. But again, maybe we were in for him. Maybe there was discussions regarding that, and then because Robertson and Tsimikas both got injured, Liverpool chose to call him back. The other rumour I've seen is the lad Araujo, the guy that plays at left back, and again, he's a good profile young player, ex-Benfica academy. He's quite big, looks more athletic than Greg Taylor. He would be a good signing. If we get to the end of the window and we've not signed anybody, then we can get proper annoyed at that point. But we have brought in one player, and there's obviously there's stuff happening, hopefully, in the background. But I don't think we should get too concerned about what's happening at Rangers. I just don't really care, to be honest. We need to look after winning every week ourselves, and then we'll be going to Ibrox. Doesn't matter what happens, we'll be going there knowing that a win is going to put us in pole position to be in the Champions League, and that's what we've got to focus on going forward. Just keep doing what we're doing. In the last 4 games, 4 wins. 3 clean sheets, 1 goal conceded from Rangers set piece, and really bossed that game. Really, think played a lot better than it would have been made out before the game it was going to turn out. You went at a game, Quinny, and we were really good. We came away from that game buzzing, played really well, high performance level. Thinking there's a banana skin here. We're going to St Mirren. We need to get the 3 points here. 15 minutes in, 2 goals up, buzzing again. So let's just keep that going, and hopefully if we can add 1 or 2, definitely do think we need a left back. I mean, if Greg Taylor stays fit, we might be okay at the end of the season. But what happens if he gets injured? We're going to play with Burnley. I mean, we need a left back. I think we definitely. You can guarantee that if Greg Taylor got injured and Bernabei played, that we would drop points between now and the end of the season. So I think that's a position that you just got to try and kind of move him on if you can and bring somebody else in. In goalie position, everybody keeps talking about goalie position, but it's been made quite clear that they're going to make a decision in Hart in the summer. I think Rogers said we'll sit down with him and we'll discuss it in the summer. So I don't see us ever signing in this window somebody who's going to be able to compete with Hart just now. That's going to be something we're going to sort out in the summer. If Sygris goes, maybe we could buy a young goalkeeper and bring him in and bed him in. But if not, then we're just going to be going with what we've got until the summer, realistically. So I think left back is the main position that I would be worried about, personally.
Do you know, like you said as well, like the in terms of Rangers, also not worried about Rangers because, I think mentally we've already demonstrated, in the big moments that we've got that edge over them. I'm really not that concerned about that. It's like that we're getting into this loop though for years and years. We're trying to become a bit more of an elite club, a bit like what Quinny touched upon is like, hopefully we can get a smell for the real money and we can actually start to behave like a big club properly. And we talk about, I think we're all synchronised generally about like the scale and the level of recruitment that we do and the way that we behave is kind of not, anywhere near how a big club should operate. Certainly not a club that's got the worldwide stature that Celtic has. But I just feel like in terms of, and just another thing as well, Rangers with that boy Seema out, it's going to be terrible for them. So I just think that's going to be crippling for them moving into the second part of the season. But in terms of from Celtic's point of view, I just feel like we've got to be, more active and smart in the market and have options so that it's not all. I mean, look at Liverpool. As much as we slag them for the money league, the kind of this obsessive and crazy amounts of money that are floating around that they're just buying up everyone, holding all the talent. There's a plan B, there's a plan C, there's a plan D, there's a plan all the way down to plan F is still looking pretty decent. We're struggling with plan B at the moment. That we've got nobody tangibly to come in at left back, and I know there's what to keep playing that tune, but at that position, Bernabei clearly isn't the solution for us. And by the way, he's a decent wee player. That's just not going to work for him. But there needs to be some option in there. And even if it is, they come out and they say, look, couldn't get anyone in this window, but we did try, and we're going to, like, that's something that we really want to build on, and some of them are actively recruiting. Fair enough, but to just ignore it, the fact that we're glaringly weak in that position, and we go into the Champions League qualifiers after we've finished 10 points clear of them, and we're not straight into the Champions League, in it, or is it?
Yeah.
All right, I was. I keep changing straight in. All right, okay. So right, no qualifiers, straight in there. First game up, playing against the big boys, and Greg Taylor's lining up against the cream of the crop. That stuff is that record's just getting a bit tiring now, and getting leathered off of those guys. I think we need to be getting into there with a bit more elite talent, and I think the fans are generally comfortable and patient if there is a plan or there's some sort of like project is, I hate that term for a football club, but I'll go down that road. If there is some project there that looks like it's actually a future that's going to bear fruit and, within a reasonable time frame, then fine. But yeah, there just seems to be just this constant trial and error based on no real certainty or return.
Yeah, I think the goalkeeper was probably never going to happen in January, but we have seen some goalkeepers shifting around in January. We've seen a couple of them happen in the first couple of weeks there, and I think there was one earlier today that kind of popped up somewhere, but it escapes me at the moment. But I'm even starting to hear rumours of people thinking that there might be an extension somewhere for Joe Hart in his future. At Celtic, they think there might be the bottle job effort on that one where he's doing okay. Just 12 more months of him or whatever, which is like no harm to him, but no. That
wouldn't surprise me though. I mean, I'm not saying he should be extended, but what I'm saying is that wouldn't actually surprise me. Like, if he does well at the end of the season and Celtic win again, then if the choice is go and spend 7 or 8 million on somebody who's a proper, proven, good quality goalkeeper, or sign Joe Hart on an extension, then I know what my money would be on with our current recruitment policies. I think with that department, though, being a goalkeeper, then kind of continuity and leadership and actual experience is quite important. So, we've been linked with a few good young goalkeepers or whatever, and this guy and he's 1.5 million, he's for Sweden or whatever. But what if he comes in and he's worse than Barkas, So, if we're going to actually replace the goalkeeper, then we've got to replace him with somebody maybe Musso at Atlanta or Rulli at Ajax, who's gone there and's not done, he seems to be unhappy or whatever, used to play with Villarreal, somebody who's actually kind of knocking on the door or playing in their international teams, that type of thing, not a guy who's going to come through and who's going to be 21 and, scared of the European nights or whatever. It's a real position you need experience. I use the example of Salzburg, right? Salzburg have got an average age of about 19 or 20, but then they go and they buy Schlager, who's 28. They don't really care as much in the goalkeeping position about the age. They've got a few good young goalkeepers, but they've went and they've bought an experienced goalkeeper because they still want to win the league, still want to get in the Champions League and stuff. So I just think that it wouldn't surprise me if we re-signed Hart, but I think we should take that chance to say, okay, you've done us a good turn. If you want to go to the MLS or go back down to England or whatever, you do what you want, and we'll use your wages, plus we'll spend some money and find the guy who's going to be the goalkeeper for the next 4 or 5 years and go and recruit for that. That would definitely make more sense. But I just don't see that actually changing in this window, particularly at this stage, obviously. So,
yeah, we just passed up in too many good, keepers that were available. I mean, we've been over, a whole bunch of them, but it just feels, it just feels like, again, it's a pure cost-saving exercise for keeping Hart. I mean, sadly, that scenario you painted would just follow on for exactly how Lawwell and Desmond behaved for the last 20-odd year. So there's nothing in there that's pretty much as is. So that wouldn't surprise me in the slightest. I think that we definitely, if we're going to put, like we said before, we need to have, if we're going to adapt to modern football at elite level and Champions League level, then you need a keeper that can play out comfortably, ball at his feet. We've mentioned a whole bunch of them that are available in not crazy amounts. There's a wee bit of patience from the fans as well. I mean, I know that you guys generally laugh a bit at Barkas, but he's currently probably one of the best goalkeepers in Holland. Yeah. Maybe even there, and because he's just a different, just coached a different way from the likes of Joe Hart's. Sean's already went over enough of Joe Hart assassination in the past, but in terms of his inability. Pep Guardiola goes into Man City day one and he says, "You're out," because he just realised instantly he just couldn't play that way, and he was like, "That's it." So, I think I do like the idea that we would take time and invest in a young goalkeeper. But it's just I think there's a bit of a pattern shift in general of the club if you do that as well, where you've got to get everyone to kind of buy into that, that style of play, and sometimes you're going to make mistakes. Sometimes the goalie's just going to make horrible blunders and try to play like that. But for the greater good of actually being a better team and playing a better way and being overpowering against bigger teams in a way that we just currently aren't. And it's only the fine margins, because I genuinely think, like in Europe this year, we've looked much, much better. We need to, we need to improve, so that we're not unlucky, almost next year, all that kind of nonsense. If we want to just be ruthless.
Yeah, Kelleher's an interesting one, but that's media talk, right? I mean, last season Liverpool were wanting 20 million or something for Kelleher, so yeah, he's not out of contracts to sign some sort of extension. So, transfer fees wise, I just don't think actually in our ballpark. He looks like a pretty good goalkeeper. Klopp rates him. Liverpool don't really want him to go. They see him as a really good understudy for Alisson. He wants to get game time, but he's already playing for Liverpool, playing in cups, playing in Europa League and everything. They're going to command a EPL style transfer fee for him, and we don't pay those fees anymore. So I just don't think that's a realistic link. And it's, again, we're talking earlier about media links. Like Abada's a nice buzzword because you've got the war. Kelleher's Irish. It's quite hard sometimes to cut through the clickbait stuff or the stuff that people make like ongoing stories about to get to who we've actually been linked to or whatever. So like that guy, G Small or whatever, and people are saying, if Celtic were in for him, why have we not signed him? But he's going to sign for Rangers, and that's the first time I've heard all window that we were interested in him. There's been no leaks to say that we've been in for him at all. So again, it could just be one of these, Celtic were in for him as well and generating media interest and stuff. Whereas if we sign Rojo, then we've seen a couple of links, and also he's got a good relationship with Paulo Bernardo, and he's on liking stuff in media and all that sort of stuff. So that type of stuff would actually make a bit more sense. But for Kelleher, I mean, if Liverpool let him go on loan, Gaza, I mean, Celtic might be attracted by that because he's obviously a decent goalkeeper, but I don't see that one happening, to be honest. I think that Liverpool would just be looking for too much money for him, and as a package with his wages and everything, I just don't think that's the kind of deal that Celtic will do at the moment, to be honest.
Yeah.
Kuhn was what, 3.5 million? That's still the rough bracket that we're operating in. Okay, we might push the boat out and get one or two guys at 6, 7, 8 million or whatever, but that's probably still our ceiling at the moment. You would have said
these transfer fees are prehistoric, man. It's like the what are we? The land that time forgot. With transfer fees. These are transfer fees from the 90s, man. Like spending over £1 million and having a heart attack about it.
I know. But Celtic used to sign guys like Chris Sutton and John Hartson and stuff from England, right? But that's not the EPL and stuff has moved on a lot for that. Just guys down there on hundreds of thousands of pounds a week, and mostly when they move, they're moving for a specific reason. A lot of them are just on wages that are so high that they can only really go to like Saudi Arabia or whatever because there's nobody else that can really actually pay the type of wages they're offering. And you see like Henderson left and then he was going back to Ajax because he wasn't happy there or whatever. But Liverpool were lucky to get 35 million for a guy that was really at that age and stuff. So I just don't think like actually in terms of fees and stuff, we're in that ballpark yet. We would need to really change the strategy because all the recent signings have all been 3, 4, 5 million type things. So for us to go and spend 15 million or whatever on one player would be a huge difference in the previous strategy. So I'd like to see us open it up, spend 10 million a player or, rather than waiting to the summer, know you're in the Champions League. You know, why not just do it just now, knowing that you've got 70 million in the bank, and then you still get 60 million in the bank and get somebody who's maybe got a bit of resale value or whatever, but that doesn't seem to be our overall strategy. And even when Rodgers talks about it, he talks it down in terms of saying, oh, I know the club has got a general strategy and stuff like that. So he's kind of seems to have accepted that he can't just go and just try and find somebody for 12 million from the Premier League or whatever.
See the thing is, right, like the bit that frustrates me is like you look at Barco that's went from Boca to Brighton, right? Now anyone that takes an active interest in football has probably been aware of Barco for at least a couple of seasons, right? Now, a phenomenal talent. I'd imagine there'll be clubs been tapping him even longer. Now, why is he not ever? I'm just using him as an example, by the way. You could go Adis Jasic, and you know, in the Austrian league, you could find any number of players, right? My point is that why are we not looking at these types of players who would be available, who we would be able to get? I know that you could say, oh, well, Bernabei, well, clearly not. You know, Bernabei's clearly not in that bracket. I think Barco, as soon as as soon as I seen Barco, you just went, wow, that guy's clearly got it. He's definitely going to be world class. So, you know, just a wee bit of frustration about it's not just a wee bit, it's a massive frustration about the general scouting and what's the plan. Because the idea that we just turn up and we go, let's go and find the reserve players, the clubs in England, because that'll just instantly be success, is just tiring. And that model, you know, it was previously Man City's B team. It was, you know, guys lingering about other, like there was the wee meme that you shared the other day, Benfica B, which is quite funny. You know, so like, is this the plan? You know, is this the plan, that we just keep scouring other clubs' B teams? Or are we going to do our own scouting? Are we going to go and properly, you know, look at some of the talent that clearly, you know, just us as football fans are aware of? Why is our scouting team not getting in there quick enough and getting those guys?
Because there is guys out there, like you say, if you actually, you know, go like the part of this I always struggle to really put myself in the shoes of is like, I think they need these things like a left back or a goalkeeper or this and that, but then it's like, how much are they actually looking to spend, and then where are they actually looking to spend that money? Because got a comment there I just had on the screen about transfer fees and stuff like that. It's not really about spending more just guarantees you. It's more about like the clubs that you're trying to buy from have players that are so good that they will not be sold for any less than that amount of money in the kind of normal transfer market we have now. Like Premier League kind of cast-offs is normally the one that, you know, like we're chatting about the now. There's even been like lower league England opportunities in the past, but I think overall, like in terms of spending money a bit better, like places like Spain, Germany, Italy, like there's tons of players around about there that, you know, that are about to be Champions League level or European level, and you know, they just make a wee move to a club and all of a sudden they go from a nobody to a household name. And we are never really in conversations that often to go and like scoop a rising star out from a league and give them the platform to kick on with their career. And that's where you spend money. So when you know that you're bringing a guy from Serie A who scored 12 goals in the first half of the season, and last season he scored 20 or whatever, maybe I'm exaggerating numbers ever so slightly, but like, you know, you get a better feel because the guy's played in La Liga, they've played in Serie A, they've been playing against Real Madrid, AC Milan, Juventus for 2 or 3 seasons on the bounce. And then, you know, maybe they just need that kind of kick on where they're playing a dominant team, boss a division, and then can still do it in Europe. And that's the sort of, that's the sort of player you spend more money on.
Yeah, I think the thing is, like, you know, going back, I can understand some of the metrics that they're signing players on. Like, you know, there's certain top percentiles that, you know, Yang was in, which made them appealing. But they signed him as he was on a decline from that, you know, that statistic where he was, you know, like, I think it was his touches in the opposition box. I think that was the one where he was in the something like the 98 percentile. But when you go back to Kuhn's absolutely in that. I think for I think it's a mixture of dribbles and touches in the opposition box. He's really high in percentile. So I do understand those signing, and that's why I say like they actually make more sense. Kuhn does absolutely in terms of fitting into our team. In terms of generally though, there's just it just doesn't feel to be like any real strategy and plan to where we're going long term with with any of these types of players, because they're kind of in. A couple of months later, you're thinking, where is Tilly, or where is Quan, where is Iwata, where is, because there's just no, or even the home, where is home, and it's just this perpetual story, and then home's getting loaned out again, Quan's getting sold, or Idaguchi's gone, bye, there's this just constant stream of that type of recruitment. And I get that happens at every club, but at the scale it happens at Celtic, I think it's just absolutely unforgivable. I think that's another show entirely to go through, the Mark Lawwell scouting network. But yeah, I mean, I agree with you, Quinny. I think like those types of players, that profile of player, someone that's just bursting at the seams in a little arena, just ready to go to the next level. That's where we should be. That's why I think the Croatian league, the Austrian Bundesliga, some of the lower South American leagues like Peru, who no stranger to, those types of leagues where these talents they're all going. I mean, there's that boy Piero Quispe in Peru, who I think is one of the most naturally talented players I've ever seen. He goes to the Pumas in Mexico for £1.2 million, won the Player of the Year, absolutely instrumental in winning everything for Universitario and the Peru national team, 1.2 million. Surely a wee scout out there. I mean, anyone that's not seen him, go and do a wee YouTube search, Piero Quispe. He's freakishly talented. And there's tons and tons more of those types of players, where they're just busting. And I like that analogy, actually. On that scale that they're at, they're just busting to go to the next level. They are the type. I think they're the right profile for Celtic, definitely.
We can't even scout in our own league, but I mean, we had a conversation about Doig, and Doig's went for 5.5 million. So, but Celtic could easily have bought Josh Doig for 2.5 million with chats about Hickey and all that sort of stuff. So, what can be frustrating sometimes is, I know Lewis Ferguson, his dad's Rangers and all that sort of stuff, but Lewis Ferguson's a great example, doing very well in Italy. Celtic and Rangers both let him leave Scotland. He's went over there and he's flourished, but he's a good player. So, sometimes like we should be looking at guys like Cochrane or whatever at Hearts and saying, well, rather than spending 3 million on Bernabei or whatever, why are we not going and actually giving some of these guys a chance to come into the squad? But I mean, I'm not saying there's any complete and utter standouts or whatever just now, but historically with some of those signings, we've let them go. And, Josh Doig is obviously a pretty good player. It wouldn't really have made sense to go and spend 6 million on him now after turning him down for maybe 2.5 million or whatever. But when those guys are there, we should be giving them a chance. We could have signed Max Johnson at Motherwell. He went to Sturm Graz. We could have signed him in a free transfer, So, again, talented right back. I don't know how well he's doing out there, but he always looked really good with Motherwell, and we pass up stuff like that all the time. So there's got to be questions about the scouting network, because sometimes we sign these guys from random places or whatever, but we can't. Seems like we can't even watch Sports Scene. So like, yeah. What chance have you got if you can't actually have a policy of saying if somebody comes through and they look like the next Scott Brown or whatever, that we're going to make sure that we always snap them up. We're going to be the team in Scotland that buys the young guys and has a proper pathway for them to do well in a bigger team in Scotland or whatever, but we don't do that either, as far as I can see.
I think culturally we have this quite anti-Scottish feeling where we kind of down upon ourselves and going, oh, he plays for Aberdeen, he's going to be crap, or oh, he plays for, oh, forget about him. I think we're kind of stuck in that kind of stigma where we're not actually getting past the fact, wait a minute, he's bloody good. And all of the data metrics have got him down as being a top talent. It didn't take a genius to tell you, Josh Doig was going to be super, or Aaron Hickey, aged 15 or 16 when he started playing for Hearts, was going to be a freaky talent, and it's the same with Cochrane. Cochrane, when his time comes, will go for big money. And there's Lane Clarkson at Aberdeen, there's, and so on and so forth. There's actually a lot of talent there. But there's a kind of, I don't know if it's go back to Lawwell and he thinks that we're still in, circa dealing with Hibs with the John McGinn transfer, where I'll just undercut them and offer 500. I don't know how we're doing these deals, but we're clearly domestically losing out on players that even from a business standpoint, if we just wanted to basically buy to sell, you could make a ton just out of that if that's purely all Lawwell's attempting to do here. But in terms of just sheer talent as well, definitely do a good job for us. And historically, if you look at the players that we've signed in the SPL, they've generally always done pretty well. Of course there's been failures, but I'd say generally the ones that have came in have done, have adapted well and performed for Celtic.
Yeah.
I'm not too confident we're going to get much else in before the end of the window, but we are back to business. That was kind of the name of the show, as it were, and we are back in town this weekend, riding high, hopefully on some leaderboards afterwards as well. McBride Ace has got a predicted 11 lined up on Play Sharper already. Celtic are hosting Ross County this weekend, and this is where we hope to keep destiny in our own hands with mugging these guys off with a big scoreline. Get back into league action with making some headlines, dropping a hat-trick somewhere for somebody, and get some screamers and some worldies in. And this is the team you've went for, McBride. I think most people would probably agree with you this week.
Yeah, that makes a change. I don't think there was anything really that controversial there. I think Rodgers did say clearly that McGregor was rested. I think he made some sort of comment that Vickers wouldn't make it, but he would make the following week. So that suggests to me that with the kind of muscle injuries he was getting and overload, that they're just saying, well, there's no point you playing this game. We'll just give you an extra week off. I hope so anyway. I hope he's fit. O'Reilly played the full game again. Brilliant. Again, we talk about recruitment, but, keeping him in and ongoing, having him in a 5-year deal, not been vulnerable to losing him when we don't want his big. Paulo Bernardo was excellent. That goal he scored, the chip, was superb. And with Hatate out at the Asian Cup, just think he's kind of cemented that place just now as well. So it's going to be interesting when Hatate comes back, whether or not Hatate comes straight back in or whether he's going to have to try and kind of win that place over. Palma, Furuhashi, and I think Abada's point of view with Kuhn, because he missed the game because of his dental thing or whatever he had, he couldn't play because he just had dental surgery and didn't want to play him. But the thing with Kuhn is that they've had quite a big winter break and everything in Austria as well, so he won't really be up to speed. So I think he will play a part, but I don't think he'll start. I think he'll come on, get some minutes for the bench until he sort of works up to some sort of fitness, etc. If he'd come from another team that had been playing all winter or whatever, then I think he would have probably been more a favourite to start. But I think, assuming that Abada doesn't get loaned somewhere or sold or whatever, that's the way we'll go for the weekend. Rocky's comments were interesting, weren't they, as well? Is he expecting he's going to be getting more game time? I would have him on the bench if everybody's fit, but he's done a bit better. There's no doubt about it. He looks as if he's quite good on the ball and stuff, and thought he'd done pretty well when he came on against Rangers and stuff as well. Played against Rangers, so there we go.
I definitely feel that Naroki probably has that incline of Carter Vickers isn't going to play, 35 games a season domestically. He's probably not going to play every game in cups and whatever. So even in the worst case scenario, if Scales and Vickers is cemented, he is still going to feature often enough. And then if eventually one of them is eventually sold on, as is the circle of life, then he's got a gap to step into there. It's maybe a little bit different for him, but compared to Lagerbielke, it does feel like he is really surplus to the first team really at this point, and it's better that he probably does get a loan and does get kind of transfer marketed around, moneyballed out there in some way, shape, or form. But yeah, I think it probably will be Vickers if he's fit and available. He comes straight back in, doesn't he? Alongside the rest of the team does kind of pick itself. I say it's hard. I don't think there'll be many arguments on it this week. It might just be a little bit of. I know Odenholm got some rave reviews for the Bucky Thistle game, a slightly different position, also slightly different opposition as well. But it's most likely going to be Paolo Bernardo alongside O'Reilly. And the front three kind of goes for it as well.
Yeah, that is another wee Diddy team that we're playing, let's be honest. And that manager, oh my God, that manager, he is an absolute disgrace. See the way that the stuff he's coming out in the media about talking to his players and all that. This just has a feeling of Celtic just smashing them and really putting him probably at a job as well, because he looks like he's right near the end of the cliff, just waiting to be kicked over. So I think we should just punt him right over that cliff with a 5-0. Get Kyogo back on the score sheet properly. Are we happy for Kyogo? And we can get him back into that scoring mould. We'll take 3 tap-ins, would be nice. But yeah, I mean, I think that obviously you'll know a bit more than me, McBride, in terms of Carter Vickers and the specifics of whether he's in or out. But I think there's definitely an issue round about that seems like it at some point. I don't know, a lot of it's going to have to be knocked in the head, because if he's still having that after the surgery, long term, where are we going with that? But in terms of for Sorare, if we can get him playing, it's just a nice, easy one to have in your team, because he's just he is a brilliant defender. Taking all that stuff aside, he just, when he's playing, he's the only defender that you kind of look at in a duel and just go, oh, we need him. Especially against Rangers, you go, we need him on a pitch. We just need him on that pitch. Jag him up, do whatever needs to be done, get him ready on that pitch.
I think the thing with Vickers as well, people sort of got lost on them. He played the 2 games for USA as well. So right when we had that run, obviously we had a lot of Champions League games. We had the really intensive spell before Christmas, and I think it was like in November he went away and he played 90 minutes for both games for America. So I think the interesting thing with Celtic coming up is you've got Hibs away, you've got a sort of midweek game coming up soon, and then you've got another midweek game. I think you've got Dundee at home round about the end of February as well. So I think from Novrocky's point of view, if he doesn't get in place of that sort of centre-back pairing, then he'll be looking to get some games in the Cup, or maybe you'll just say, well, Vickers will play every weekend, but we're not going to risk him playing 3 games a week or whatever. So I think there's definitely potential there, but it was quite good that I think that Rodgers finally seen sense and just said, we're just going to rest Callum McGregor. Callum McGregor's going to go to the Euros this summer, so actually what would be the point of playing him against Bucky Thistle? No offence to them. Again, if you you've got a cup game at St Mirren coming up later on in the season as well, why not play a Wata or something in that game and just actually give the guy a break? Because he plays a lot of football, McGregor, and you don't really want to get to the stage where he starts getting niggling things at his age as well, because we're just completely sort of running him into the ground. But I think with Vickers, I don't think it's specifically that he's become injury prone or whatever. I think that it's just that he struggles to cope with those intensive games, like playing Saturday, Wednesday, Saturday, and all that type of stuff. And there's been a lot of that in the calendar because of the winter break, funnily enough, because you 4 games in 9 days over Christmas and all that sort of stuff, and the Champions League and all that sort of stuff. So I think Novrocky will get some minutes, but I think if Vickers is fit, then he'll start.
Yeah, Vickers might not be a 2-game-a-week kind of player. And I was just, as I was thinking that to say to you, I was thinking about Kieran Tierney, who's not a 2-game-a-week player at the moment at Real Sociedad, who played kind of 2 games a week. And They've just signed another left back and on loan. Maybe think, maybe Tierney maybe gets shuffled around the loan market at the back end of January. But shudder to think that would be the move we would make, is bring him in for a wee sneaky 6 months, or whatever.
I think he'd get a game with us, to be fair, Quinny. I don't know. I mean, I did watch one of so I said that games, and I thought, I think he would get a game for us. He's still lots of quality.
He's still Tierney. He's still brilliant. But 2 games a week, I don't think he's there. Maybe Vickers is the same, and if we're in 2 game a week mode, then maybe that's when the Rocky gets his minutes. Is another part of it as well. All speculation at this point, of course. We'll see how it shakes out. But I think this is a game as well where we could see like a lot of bench action, because if you still have Kuhn on the bench to maybe come on and make a difference, the likes of Vata and Mikey Johnson, if they are still trying to make a name in the squad somehow, Ross County at home is a pretty good game to pad your stats a bit and get the goals, get the assists in, if they can come on with enough minutes to make it count. So this could be a big scored result, and I think that's what I'm hoping for.
I mean, I think Mark Patrick there is. I know we predicted like a 6 or a 7-0 at one point, and it's completely wrong. But I think Ross County could beat like 3-0 at home or something in the cup at the weekend as well. They seem that the whole thing seems in disarray. It's like the comments the manager's making. They brought in a goalkeeper for the English teams, like 22 or something. Started him instead of Laidlaw in the cup, and then obviously lost a few goals. So I think they'll after seeing the form Celtic are on, beating Rangers, scoring 5 goals, like they'll be coming to Parkhead really fearing an absolute hiding, to be honest. And if we keep playing the way we've been playing, I just can't see there's any scenario, touch wood, where we don't whack a couple of goals in. And it could be a game where you've scored 3 or 4 goals by 60 minutes, and naturally you can start planning for the Hibs away game. I think they were actually the fixtures on. No, they're not. It's just the overall fixtures for the league. I'm pretty sure the Hibs away game comes up quite quickly. The midweek games quite hot on the heels of this one as well. So you'll have a few games coming up where naturally you'll see maybe 1 or 2 positions where you'll need to manage the minutes just a wee bit after the break, and also to get people back up to speed as well. I've had a couple of weeks off, so from that point of view, it's quite interesting too. It's a stretch. Ross County.
Then away to Aberdeen, away to Hibs, then St Mirren in the cup.
Yeah. So there's a full week, and then we've got Aberdeen, and then we've got the midweek. Yeah. That's right. April.
Oh.
That's gonna be a big one there.
Yeah, 6th of April. That is that's my son's birthday. It's gonna be a tough day for me.
Is that not Sorare Sevens as well, or is it Sorare Sevens is 7th?
Oh, I can't be the 6th of April, is it? That's my son's birthday.
It's pretty close to it. No, it's the 7th of April, I think.
Oh, Jesus.
Pretty sure Sorare Sevens.
Is that a Monday then? Or is it? Oh,
no. They've got the Celtic Rangers game on a Saturday at the moment. Maybe that'll be moved for TV. It'll probably be the early kick-off.
Yeah.
It's not going to be 3 o'clock.
No, it definitely won't be. For sure. They'll be making sure that's on the TV. No 2 ways about it.
I think that's why you want McGregor as well. Just focus on, like as you said, that win the league. Just get him rested when he needs it. Those games when he, when we're playing against, even if we manage to build up any sort of momentum, we get sort of, the cup games, we can just who cares? Let's just get this league done, get into that Champions League, the big money. Once we get to the cup semi-finals and finals, fair enough. But having McGregor playing against St Mirren in the cup, do we really need a guy like that? Really? I mean, bring some of the other guys in, give him a game.
Yep, totally agree.
Yeah. So yeah, if anyone's going to the game this weekend, we hope we have a great time, travel safe and all the rest of it. We're all expecting a resounding result. I think we're all going with big 4s and 5s and bigger numbers like that. Are any of you guys going to the game yourselves?
No.
I'm actually not. It's the wife's birthday, so we've got an
Happy
overnight
birthday,
plan.
Mrs. Ace.
An overnight plan. So there we go.
Oh, there we go.
Just need to look at my
Right.
SO5 Sorare lineups and hopefully I'll be happy at that.
Oh, that's it. And again, thanks to everyone that's joined us live here on the Celts Are Here. And we will catch you next week. Stay safe, take care, and hail, hail.
Hail, hail.
Hail, hail.
On the hoops. That's it.